God is the father of the fatherless. I mean, imagine some of you, if you have kids, would you wave, please? I have 3 lovely kids. My beautiful wife is here, Victoria. If you have kids, you would not put your kids in care of any kind of person, correct? We're talking about God's kids. I'd like to announce to you that you're a selected, awesome person. Because he will not leave his kids with any kind of person. So you being here, that's why I'm excited. You are selected by God specially to take care of his kids. That is amazing. Moses, if you're ready for me. All right, I'm talking on a topic, promoting family strengthening at scale. Investing in prevention, reunification, family support system. We all know that we have data, we have statistics. But statistics from UNICEF says that over 80% of children in children's homes have families. They have someone, right? And we're in Africa, especially in West Africa. The culture of my uncle's child, my father's this, is swinging away. Why is that? That's why we're applauding Mrs. C. and Ade for bringing our attention back to that. Where did that go to? How do we scale back into recognizing that every child in the African context belongs to a home? Not just any kind of home, a home that has family ties. We know all the alternative care options, right? But where is the best place for a child to be? Next slide. So in back-to-back ministries, that's what our vision is. And that's why we're here, because we'll continue to support the idea, the agenda that every child belongs in a family. The vision of back-to-back is the same thing. Our goal is that every child feels known and loved. That's the mission that we'll all pursue. That a hope for a child today leads to a future tomorrow. When I started working as a caregiver in a children's home in Jos, like I said, all I knew was one thing. But I started to see how they didn't care. They didn't care about what you're saying. Most of them went to school. They didn't care about that. They didn't care about what you're saying. They didn't care that there's something for them. The education you're telling them to go to school to get, they didn't care that it has something for them. Do we know why? It is because the people who they lived with told them that they would never amount to anything. That is their family. That is their mother telling a child that you're stupid like your father, you're big head like your mother, and all of that stuff. They believed it. They will believe it because those are the people they trust the most, right? They will believe it. That is investment, like you all do every single day, even by being here, is the investment in the things that you know, in the hope that you can give them today that can build a future for tomorrow. In Africa, I don't know if about the rest of the world, we said that tomorrow, children are the leaders of tomorrow. That context mostly feels comfortable in a home. Because you want to talk about the future for the children, you're providing for them. You're providing education, spiritual support. What about the orphan child? Are they in that context? That the future belongs to them? That future is in two perspectives, right, by the way. The future of being a president, a governor, a doctor. There's another perspective of the future of armed robbers, right? Those were kids someday. What kind of context do you think they grew up with? Those ones who are kidnappers today. Even in some of the horrible things happening in Nigeria with kidnapping, we see that they are kids. What kind of context did they grow up? That is the future. That is a future that started someday. So that future is in two contexts. That is why it's important that we're here. Next slide, please. So the question we'll ask ourselves as we move on, why does family strengthening matter? Why does it matter? All the perspective of family strengthening that you know, the models that you've built in your organization, why does it matter? Why do we have to continue to dig deep and fight and say that family is the best place for a child to thrive? How many children enter alternative care because they truly have no family? How many enter because their families lack support? Next slide. So those are the questions I hope that you continue to ponder with, because they are very, very important questions. So the orphan care reform across West Africa is shifting from institutional care towards family-based care, because we all believe in that. The reality facing families in West Africa is around these three major things. Economic hardship. We know how, because, like we said, over 80% of kids in children's homes, they do have somebody. They have a family tie with an aunt, an uncle, one mother, they do have that. So economic ties is one of the big things. Limited income, unemployment, raising living costs, all of those kind of hardship will make a family say, I can't take this anymore. Let me take a child to an orphanage home. Or let me go throw this child in the street. Let me leave a child in a basket in front of a, The second one is stress and trauma. We know how violence is impacting West Africa in different forms. Whether it's loss or displacement through crisis, all of those things happen. And then the last one is community pressure, the stigma, the harmful norms that we have in our communities. Like the guest speaker was talking about how they've done so much work in trying to stop early girl-child marriage. Those kind of things. Next slide, please. So these are the realities that are impacting our communities. Children thrive in families. We all know that. We all agree. How much do we say it? If we believe it, how much do we say it? How much do we drive for it? How much do we push for it? Because in that space, there's belonging. What are the kind of norms you teach your child in your home? There's stability for the child. When a child leaves a particular space to another one, something happens. Even my own kids, we had to do a lot of transition just to be here today. Identity, that they belong. They have an identity, they belong somewhere. Environmental, emotional security, and healthy development. Children who grow up in it, we can't stop saying this because we need to believe it. If you believe it, you continue to do something about it. That children grow up, where they grow up in a safe space, they have an opportunity to excel. What is the cost of separation? When that stops happening, what are the kind of things that we're going to see? When children are separated from families, the impact is profound and lasting. There's emotional distress. It starts from there, and it builds onto different kind of vices that we have in our communities today. Educational disruption. We know that education is one of the big tools we can use to build our nations. The loss of belonging, attachment challenges, and increased vulnerability. These separations every single day cause so many kind of issues that we're having today. So why don't we go back? Why don't we go back? Next slide, please. Why don't we go back? But why do we invest in families? Why must we invest in families? Strong families today build a brighter, more resilient tomorrow for every child. We've talked about the two perspectives of tomorrow, the two perspectives of the future. We have a program in Back-to-Back called Strong Families. One of the managers is here. She will come up and tell us a little bit about the experiences that Back-to-Back have been doing in investing in strong families. So why should we invest? Because simply has better outcomes, right? Children thrive emotionally, socially, academically, just in a home. And stronger communities, connected, supportive communities uplift everyone, every single person, and then reduce separation. Next slide, please. Why is it important for the government to be involved? Why? Why is it important? The government is the driving force of our society, right? We have to call on the government, not just coming and agreeing in the things that we do, but enforcing these things, like the amazing things our guest speaker came and spoke about. The social protection that provides safety nets for financial support and keep families stable and secure. If I ask us to raise hands to how we want the government to come and give us that kind of safety net, I'm sure most hands will go up. Mental health, support emotional well-being for children and caregivers, reducing trauma and stress. How can the government lead that? First of all, the government is saying, I want to pursue this with you. It's a big support that anyone sitting in this room will continue to say yes to. And then the workforce, strengthening families and communities, creating a more productive, resilient, and self-sustaining community. Parenting support, strengthen parenting skills and build nurturing relationships that help children thrive. And then helping reunifications. How is the government enforcing foster care systems in our countries, adoption in our countries? Those are the platforms to which children can be in families. How? Next slide, please. How are they supporting this move? So we'll share a little bit about Back to Back, what we have been doing for the past 19 years in Nigeria and 29 years around the globe. Let's welcome Elizabeth.
Akwaba. We were taught how to respond this morning, though. Akwaba. All right. So, but I remembered if it is an elderly female, you say Yena, right? If it is an elderly male, you say Yeja. Then if it is your colleague, you say Yenia. Yes, I got that right. Thank you. Good morning again. So, I am Elizabeth Mark. I am the manager for the Child and Family Development. And we do a lot. And part of what we do is family strengthening in Back to Back. And the department that I am privileged to manage does that. We are also the training arm of the ministry in Nigeria. And then family strengthening, Back to Back has been doing this for so many years. And what we have discovered during these years and the practice in family strengthening and family care is number one, that assessment is a very important place to start. Most of the times when practitioners go into families or communities, we go with, permit me to say, preconceived ideas or solutions for the families. But then when we get there, we discover that everything we do is not really giving us the results or the impact that we desire. The reason is because they have what is need for them. Every family is peculiar. Every family's needs is peculiar to them. We assume that these families are in need. Yes, they are, but then there are strengths also that these families carry. There are resources that they have. And so what is a need for family A may not be a need for family B. Is what we have discovered in the years we have been running this program in Back to Back. So assessment for us is a family strengthening program that is based on identifying family strengths, families' needs, families' resources, and then ways to help them. Please, can you stay on that slide for me? Thank you. So we identify family strengths, families' needs, the risk, resources, and a lot that the family have through assessments. There's what we call in Back to Back the FSI, the Family Status Index. It is a tool that we use of questions or questionnaires that we use to know during family visits what need a particular family has. And when we do this, we're able to identify areas where they need help or intervention. So in some of the families we've seen families who have financial resources. They don't need that support from us. We've seen families who have health issues. It's not finances or food they need, it's health. And so because of the health challenge, they are not able to care for their children. So what we do is we take or address that particular health situation. The family, the parent, the caregiver is strengthened and is back on their feet to care for their children. Because we did for about 5 to 6 years, giving support, food, funds, and other things, and we saw that they were in the same place for over 5 years. And we started asking questions: what is going on? What is the problem? What are we not doing right? And that was when we discovered that these families don't all have the same needs. These families have other strengths that already they're working on. Some of them have skills, but then they don't have the capital to begin or to run. And so we know through the FSI, and we're able to provide what they need to be able to start up. And we have seen these families become strong and they're thriving. You know, it has reduced the number of children who go into alternative care. Right now we're focusing to say, let's strengthen this family so that these children don't have to move. What Back to Back is focusing on right now is preventing separation. We don't want families to be separated, to be apart. Like the director just shared, we see the effect of that after a while. In fact, there's a case right now that we're trusting God, he's helping us already, of a child who lives in the same community with his parents, with his mother, but does not want to go back to the house to stay with the mother. We have other children who are living in some of the alternative care options we have, who come from a community where we're serving, but when it is holiday, when it is vacation, we're saying, go home, see your parents. They don't want to go back. They're saying, I'm going back, I'm going today, I'm spending 2 hours, and I'm coming back the next hour. And we're wondering, this is not what we want. This was not the idea. We want them to go back and be interdependent in their communities, but be independent in their lifestyles. And so we started working on assessments. And assessment is top for us, number one, because it solves every other problem you see down here. Support. We're able to give support because we have assessed and we know what the family needs to be able to have the support that they want. And we are able to allocate the right support to the right families based on the needs that they have. We're able to use the resources within the family and the strength that they have to care for them. We only push them, and show them and guide them on how to go. We don't take it from them. Because do you know what it does when we don't have assessment? It creates dependence. Yeah, they depend on you completely. They don't want to move on. They keep waiting for you to come back and keep feeding them. We don't want that to happen. Then the next is parenting guidance. We do that through skills. We do that through parental training classes and coaching. We have that with them. And then healing. We do that through with the support of Trauma-Free World to give trainings to parents. We say that you cannot take a child or a person to a place you've not been yourself, right? So the parents understand their own story, trauma story, history, get to a place where they can begin to guide their children and give the right parenting. And then also, economic strengthening. Through the assessment, we know what each family needs. And we know what empowerment to give to this family. Is it skills? Is it the capital? Is it a job? Whatever the family is able to find, or whatever we find through the assessments, we give them that help. And we have seen so many families becoming strengthened. How we know that is we assess. And we have done graduations for over 10 families right now. Mothers who are right now caring for their children. They have jobs, they have skills, they have resources within their communities that they use. Thanks to K4, we did a community mapping that helped us also access certain resources in the community, and we connected them to it. Healthcare services and others, and they are able to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Next slide, please. Thank you. Those are some practical things we have been doing and we've seen them work. Next slide. What we have learned. We've learned that families often do not lack love. They just need support. They need support. They need the acknowledgement that somebody is seeing them, somebody is with them, and somebody is helping them grow. Next slide. So what are the strategies for scaling? How do we move this forward? I like how the team is not just about the things we've learned from 2025, how are we implementing them? So how do we scale? How are we working together to reach more families, strengthen systems, and create lasting change? One is to strengthen our system. We have those systems. How are we implementing the systems, the models that we have created for family strengthening? Build partnerships. We can't do that alone. We cannot do it alone. How do we partner with ourselves? That's one of the things, that's what our day is great at, connecting people. That's why we're here. That you're not living here without knowing somebody that does something you want to learn something more from, right? How do we build partnerships with the government, with people, with churches, with our faith-based organizations? How do we invest in people, train people to do what they do more, and learn new ways of doing things? I was in East Africa 2 months ago. I was just blown away by the kind of knowledge that they have on care reform. How do we train people? How do we support and empower skill for workforce and community, raise community champions for this that we're talking about? Use data and evidence. We have BEB. How do we use the data that we have to transform the future of kids being in families? Data is too important, right? And raise awareness, shift our mindset, and reduce stigma through community engagement and advocacy. We need to talk more about it. We need to loud our voice about this. And then sustain investment. Increase and align funding. It costs money to do this, like Mrs. C said. It costs money to do this. We have to raise the support to sustain this work that we're doing. Next slide, please. This is how we can scale. And everyone has a role. Everyone in this room. And when you leave this room, what role are you playing in the things that you're going to learn after these 2 days? What role do you have? Because when we work together, we create stronger families and safer futures for every child. That's not just every child, right? That's our society. That's every space that we want to get into. How do we make our space safe together? Through the government, we've been knocking on that. Through NGOs who have built systems and models around family care reforms. Through faith communities. Our faith communities is a very big instrumental space that we can use to drive this. How do we get them involved? And then communities. Our communities to keep talking about this. This is very important. Don't leave your child in distress. And then development partners. We need the funding to provide funding and technical support and global learning. We need the development to keep doing this, to keep growing this. This movement is not just a starting point. It has a destination, the one we know our God will be very proud of. Last slide, please. Thank you. Thank you for listening, because we believe that every child deserves the opportunity to belong and grow in a healthy family. The future of West Africa is not just in investing in homes, it's investing in strengthening families. And I believe, you will just raise your hand if you believe that too. I have a cloud of witnesses that believe that as well. Thank you.
One more time, a round of applause for Mr. Azubi K for an amazing session. Well said, sir. 2 things that I was speaking with him, and I asked that 2 things that he would want each and every one of us here to live with. And he said, we want each and every one of us to support the idea of families and also invest in family strengthening. And on one of the slides I saw this, the lower part, probably some of us didn't get to see it, but he read it out. He said, different roles, one goal, strong families, safer children, better futures. That is really needed. That is needed. We're going to go into the next business of the day, and the second talk is titled Shaping the Future of Childcare in Africa, a Trauma-Informed Approach. And the person who will be taking the second talk is Diane Herzberger. She is the President, Trauma Free World Training and Curriculum Division. Would you please put your hands together as she comes up stage for our talk?
I have some goodies being passed out for everybody, so we're just going to give a minute or two for those to be passed out. But don't open them. Don't grab for them until I cue you. How about while they're passing them out, why doesn't everybody stand up? Take a deep breath. You've been sitting a long time. It's warm in here. Get some fresh oxygen in your system. Do a little stretch. Grab a drink of water. I don't want anyone falling asleep on me, so excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Does everybody have their goodies on the center of their table yet? Everybody should get one. But remember, don't touch them. Don't take them out yet. Leave them at the center of the table. Okay, is everybody feeling a little refreshed? All right, go ahead and grab a seat. Hopefully everybody has my props at the table. Yes? Thank you, ladies, for passing those out. Thank you to the volunteers. Imagine with me, a young boy, 9 years old, sleeping outside on a concrete slab on a cool African night. He hasn't eaten in 3 days. He doesn't know where his next meal will come from. His father has abandoned him. His mother is alive but absent. His grandmother is the one stable adult in his life, but when she leaves to visit family, he is left to fend for himself. Some nights, neighbors feed him. Some nights, they don't. Some nights, he has a place to sleep. Some nights, he doesn't. Eventually, he is accepted into a local program where he begins to experience something new: consistent adults and regular meals. Later, he joins a family-based program where, for 7 years, he experiences safety, stability, affection, belonging, and love. Then something happens. As a young adult, he begins making poor decisions. He enters into unhealthy relationships. He makes choices that disappoint the very people who invested in him. And suddenly, everyone begins asking the question, what is wrong with him? After 7 years of stability, shouldn't he know better? Shouldn't he be healed by now? 5 years later, he is still struggling, still making poor decisions, still taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back. But here's what I have come to understand. What looks like rebellion is often pain. What looks like irresponsibility is often unresolved trauma. What looks like poor choices is often a young man trying to heal wounds he does not fully understand. He's searching for attachment, for belonging. And isn't that what all of us do when parts of our story remain unhealed? I begin with his story because it raises an important question. Can we put a timeline on healing? Can we expect years of trauma to disappear simply because someone experiences a few years of safe, consistent family? I don't think that we can. My name is Diane Herzberger, and I serve as the president of the Training and Curriculum Division of Trauma Free World. It is an honor to be here with all of you, with leaders from across all of Africa who are committed to changing the trajectory of vulnerable families and vulnerable children. Across this continent, incredible work is happening. Children are being protected, families are being strengthened, programs are being built, policies are being improved, communities are responding, and all of this matters deeply. But today I want to suggest something important. A child can be housed and still not feel safe. An adolescent can achieve a university degree and still be deeply wounded. A child can be rescued and still feel emotionally abandoned. Meeting physical needs is essential, but if we fail to address the invisible wounds children carry, we risk building systems that care for children without helping them truly heal. This unhealed trauma is silently shaping future generations. The future of care for children in Africa must be trauma-informed. But why must it be trauma-informed? What does trauma-informed even mean? At the heart of so many challenges facing children is interpersonal trauma. There are many reasons why children end up living in a children's home or on the streets, why they are trafficked. The list goes on and on and on. And at the core of almost all of these is interpersonal trauma. Interpersonal trauma happens in relationships. It occurs when the very people who are supposed to provide safety become the source of fear, neglect, rejection, abandonment, and harm. For a child, interpersonal trauma may include abuse, neglect, domestic violence, family separation, institutionalization, displacement, exploitation, the loss of a primary caregiver. These experiences are especially damaging because they do not just affect a child's sense of safety in the world, they affect a child's ability to trust other people. And because healing also happens through relationships, the solution to interpersonal trauma is not simply providing services. It is helping children experience safe, consistent, nurturing relationships that rebuild trust and restore connection. That brings me back to my original question: what is trauma-informed care? Trauma-informed care is not a program. It is not a curriculum, a training, or a certificate. Trauma-informed care is a way of seeing someone differently. It begins with the understanding that many of the children and adolescents and families that we serve have experienced adversity, loss, neglect, abuse, separation, violence, and other overwhelming experiences. It's choosing to ask, what happened to this child, before asking, what's wrong with this child? It is recognizing that behavior has meaning. It is understanding that behind every behavior is a story, and often behind that story is a child carrying pain we cannot see. Trauma-informed care recognizes that behavior often reflects a child's attempt to survive experiences that are far beyond their control. It takes time to become trauma-informed, and we should never stop learning about how trauma impacts the human spirit. I've been parenting my 2 adopted sons for the past 12 years. Being trauma-informed is literally my job. And yet, there are moments when it is so very, very hard to go against my instinctual parenting style, reframe the situation so that I can respond in a safe and trauma-informed way. It requires so much of my patience, insight, self-awareness, so much Holy Spirit strength. So, how do we become trauma-informed? It starts with a perspective shift, a desire and commitment to learning a different way of thinking, a reframing of the way we were parented or how leadership was modeled to us. Imagine I handed each of you a pair of tinted glasses. The moment you put them on, everything in this room looks different. The people in this room haven't changed, only the lens through which you see them has changed. Trauma-informed care is like putting on a new pair of glasses. Without that lens, we see defiance, and with it, we begin to see fear in that child. Without that lens, we see a problem to fix, and with it, we see a story to understand. The child has not changed. What changes is how we see them. And when we change how we see them, we change how we respond. And when we change our response, we have the opportunity to change a life. As we talk about helping children heal, we must also talk about ourselves. One of the greatest misconceptions in child welfare is that we can heal children without first equipping and supporting the adults who care for them. In reality, healing often begins with the adults. Many of us entered into this work because we care deeply about children. But many of us are also carrying our own stories of loss, disappointment, rejection, trauma, or pain. If we are not aware of our own wounds, they can quietly influence the way we lead, parent, teach, and care for others. The truth is that we cannot consistently give away what we do not possess ourselves. If we want children to experience safety, we must understand what it means to feel safe. If we want children to learn emotional regulation, guess what? We must be growing in our own emotional regulation as well. If we want children to trust relationships, we must be committed to building healthy relationships in our own lives. This does not mean we need to be perfect. None of us are. But it does mean that we must be willing to do our own healing work. Children do not need perfect caregivers. They need healing caregivers. They need adults who are self-aware, emotionally healthy, humble enough to seek support, and courageous enough to continue growing. And when those who care for children commit to their own healing journey, they become some of the most powerful healing agents in that child's life. Imagine in Africa where every caregiver understands trauma, where schools become places of healing as well as learning, where social services prioritize emotional safety alongside physical protection, where alternative care systems are designed not only to shelter children, but to help them recover, heal, and thrive. That future is possible, but it requires all of us. We each have a role to play. The question before us is not whether trauma exists. This question is whether we build systems that acknowledge it and respond to it. The future of childcare in Africa must be trauma-informed because children deserve more than survival. They deserve healing, connection, they deserve hope, and they deserve adults who understand that behind every behavior is a story, and behind every story is a child created in the image of God. As we think about the future of childcare in Africa, I want to return to the young boy I told you about at the beginning of my talk. I met him 12 years ago. The boy who slept on a concrete slab, the boy who often went days without food, the boy who was abandoned by his father and left searching for stability, belonging, and love. Today, he's no longer a child, he is an adult, and his story is still being written. He still makes mistakes. He still struggles. He still has moments where old wounds show up in new ways. But there is something else that is true. He's employed. He's pursuing his education. He knows Jesus. And perhaps most importantly, he is still surrounded by people who refuse to give up on him. People who understand that healing is not linear. People who understand that meaning has behavior. People who understand that 7 years of safety cannot instantly erase years of abandonment. Who continue to show up, to listen, encourage, guide, and love him. That, to me, is trauma-informed care. It is refusing to define someone by their worst decision. It is refusing to give up when healing takes longer than expected. It is believing that God's vision for a person's life is greater than the trauma they have experienced. At the center of your table, you will find a pair of tinted glasses. Go ahead and grab them. They might look like this. They might be square. Go ahead and grab them, and I want you to put them on. This is your reminder that a trauma-informed approach is a different way of seeing things. Let us commit ourselves to building systems that do more than protect children. Let us build systems that help them heal. Because when children heal, families heal. When families heal, communities heal. And when communities heal, nations are transformed. Thank you. You all look really good.
Please give her a big, big round of applause. Give her a big round of applause. You're welcome. All right, thank you. We're learning new things, and I'm sure after now we're going to be implementing new things. It's been an exciting talk, and we're excited to be here. Quickly, as we set up for the panel session, we'll have a quick fruit break, a very quick fruit break. Can I have the team tell us, stand, and we're going to go by tables. So we're going to start from this first roll, and we keep going until everyone. So just pick your fruit and come back to your table. Please, can I have the team? 10 minutes. Can I have the team help us go through? Please go with her. Just go with her so we can get a quick fruit. Can I have also the team help me set up for the panel session? Can I have the team help me set up for the panel session? Please, let's have people positioned to guide them on how to get the fruit break. Let's have people positioned to help us. 2026. Hi, everyone. I can't hear you. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. If I took it off, I wanted to read. You took it off that I wanted. All right, please, the kitchen, can we have less noise over there? And let's get to the panel. We're going to be having a panel. We're here in Ghana, and it's only good that we hear about some of the challenges, so that when we go into the breakout sessions, we can also talk more about that later. But I want everyone to hear, please pay attention. So when I say a West Africa, you say where every child belongs. So we're going to try it. 1, 2, 3, go. A West Africa. Okay, I still can't hear you. Let's go one more time. A West Africa. One more time. A West Africa. I'm only hearing this table and that one. So I want to hear here, this side. So let's go again. A West Africa. One last time. A West Africa. So because we are talking about Ghana, I want you to turn to the person next to you and say, you fine, pa. Say it how I said it. Let's go. Tell everybody beside you that you fine, pa. I can't hear you. Why are you telling me? Tell the person next to you, you fine, pa. All right, let's go. Thank you. That just means you look beautiful. That's what that means. You look beautiful. And you truly look beautiful. So for this panel session is Ghana's care reform journey, the bottlenecks and the breakthroughs. And we know that in every care reform journey, we encounter some bottlenecks and we always have breakthroughs. And they will be sharing the experience. To lead this panel session is someone who is passionate about family-based care. She's an advocate for children. And she's been doing this work for a while. She's the CEO of Partnership for Family-Based Care, also a very strong member of FABCA and part of the part of the planning committee. Please, with a round of applause, help me welcome our moderator, Miracle Damanka. Please, let's give her a round of applause as she comes up stage. Please, let's welcome Miracle Damanka as she comes up stage.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your kind words. Hello, hello, hello. Please, you're warmly welcome to this session. Join me welcome the panelists. I'll tell you a bit about them, and then we can go right into the conversation. So the first person on this panel is Mrs. Helena Asamoah Obeng. She is the first person who was the coordinator for the Reform Initiative. Let me give you a little history. So we have an organization in the country which was an orphanage, O Africa, then called Orphanate Africa. That transitioned, which means they were able to get all their children into other family care settings or alternative care. And so after that, they started a campaign for the whole country to do this care reform. And they partnered with UNICEF to start an office. And the first coordinator of that office is Mrs. Helena Obeng Asamoah. Join me, welcome her. Auntie Helena, you're very welcome. Oh, please put it together for her. We'll also be listening to a lady I really, really respect. She was the social worker, the head of social work for that organization that transitioned. She is called Mrs. Jacinta Atakra. She's been 15 years in child protection, and she's the head of social work and projects at O Africa. Please help me welcome her. Jacinta, you're welcome. Please let's keep clapping for her. You're very welcome to the conversation. And finally, for this conversation, we want to invite a care leaver. She was through the situation, and she would also be sharing with us. Mrs. Akpene Mojifa. Please help me welcome her. Oh, keep clapping, please. Thank you. You're all very warmly welcome to the conversation.
Thank you.
Great. So, to kick us off, just give me one word to describe what you see of care reform in Ghana. One word. How do you describe care reform in Ghana? Auntie Elena.
Let me say challenging.
Challenging. Okay. We'll come back to hear why you chose challenging. Please, Jacinta.
We've come a long way.
One word.
Long way.
Long way. All right, Akpene.
For me, I would say it's a work in progress. From the time it started in 2016 up to now, even though it has been very challenging and we are seeing the results to be a little bit steady, I would say it's a work in progress.
This one word is very long. One word. I think progress. All right, great. So, Auntie Helena, we go way back. I'd want to ask you, as you listened to the presentation by Honorable Oye, I want you to compare that to what's happening in practice and what you went through to implement those policies, practices, and changes along the road of care reform. What would you say were the greatest challenges?
Okay, let me take to before Honorable Minister came to the ministry, when the reform started. I think it was in 2005 when DSW came together, social welfare officers came together, and decided to conduct a census because we didn't even know the numbers of orphanages we had in the country. So they had to come together to go around and find out how many orphanages are we talking about. And then they realized that we had 138 at the time, as against 10 a few years earlier. And then there were about 4,000 children in these homes. So the question was, what is happening? I mean, what was the issue? Because in a very short time, between 1995 and then 2005, we have had an increase in the number of homes and then children. And then almost all of them had not gone through the procedure, which the Children's Act spelled out. And so it was, I mean, when Ghana presented the report to the UNCRC, it was alarming, and they were asked to check why this issue was happening. What was happening? Is there something in Ghana that is causing this? So that is how the care reform started. And it was actually launched in 2007. And then the office was created. So in 2008, the office started functioning, officially in 2008. Before then, I was in charge of Osu Children's Home, as you know. I was also, I was in charge of an orphanage. And then, because of what I saw there, we decided, the directorate decided that I should come to be the head of Care Reform Initiative. We had an office, we had a computer, one computer. We had the laws, the Children's Act, and then the LI 1705 to work with. That was all. We didn't have standards. We didn't even know what we were looking out for. And that was a great challenge to us because when we started going around, we noticed that a lot of things were going on with children in homes. I mean, the places they call orphanages. Not all of them. Some of them were doing very well. But I went into a place where I saw 90 children in an uncompleted building with 3 caregivers. You go to a place where they were operating like a juvenile delinquency institution. You go to a place where you find people with children, one woman with children with an uncompleted building with no door. And according to her, she was always the one guarding them at night when they slept. And I said, but you yourself, you even look too weak to do this kind of work. So it has been a tough journey. That's why I said it was challenging. And then also when it was started, it was some of them, those who were not operating according to standard, thought that we were attacking their livelihood. And so there were so many attacks that I don't want to talk about now.
Thank you very, very much. I understand when you say it was challenging. Jacinta, if you can throw more light. You were an orphanage. Now the name is Residential Homes for Children. That's what they were. And they were having, how many children were you having at the time? And what was the process like for you? For us to, for the organization to DI.
Thank you, Miracle. Orphanage Africa was in existence around 2003. And it was run for just 3 years. After 3 years, our founder, Lisa Lover-Smith, came to the realization that every child deserved a family, and that was necessary for her to do the institutionalization so that those children with her will have the opportunity to be with their families. And around that time, the institution had, I think, less than 50 with so many caregivers. We were doing amazing work, though, but when Lisa realized that still, it wasn't the best because every child deserves a loving and a protective family. She came to that conclusion that her orphanage needed to go. And the process was a bit challenging from the beginning, but here we are. It's been 20 years now since Orphanage Africa was dissolved. Orphanage Africa was transitioned from institutional care to family-based care. And when we look back, we don't regret even one bit. Some of the challenges that Lisa and us faced during the transition moment was a lot. One, I will talk about resistance from the staff. I was a staff, and I must say, I have to be honest, that time, even though I had the interests of children at heart, but I was also concerned about my job. That is where I find my livelihood, to feed my children. So when Lisa came up with the idea that, Jacinta, we need to transition our orphanage to family-based care, I tried to talk her out. I'm like, Lisa, we are doing so well. We are protecting the children. Can't you see? They are going to school. They are being fed well. Why can't we live like this? She said, no, Jacinta. So what she did was she started educating us of the benefits of children living with families. I wasn't alone. She had a lot of employees. So she took us to seminars, training upon trainings, just to change our mindsets. Another challenge she faced from the staff was the staff also thinking that children are being cared for best by the institution, like institutional care. Children are doing well, especially with vulnerable children. Our staff felt, would families be able to care for a child with HIV, for instance, a child with special needs? These were the questions we were asking. Can we do this? Because we are doing so well now, so why don't we leave it at that? Then another challenge was coming from the children themselves, especially grown-up children who had been with us for 3 years. I must acknowledge that some of the children were in other orphanages then, and they were transferred to Orphanage Africa. So they had lived the majority of their childhood lives in other orphanages. So when they came, it wasn't just like 3 years. Some had lived in institutional care for 7 years, 8 years, even 10 years. So they were so much afraid of going back to their families. They were not sure if their families will accept them or give them the kind of care that our orphanage was giving them. So there were resistance. Then another resistance came from other individuals who had committed their lives in supporting institutional care. So they also tried to talk Lisa out of that idea that, Lisa, stay where you are. Another challenge came from the families themselves. So around that time, we had started tracing for children's families. And when you contact this family, they are like, oh, you've taken very good care of my child. Please continue for me. I beg you. I don't think I can be able to do this. We realized that families were afraid because they were concerned about how to fend for their children when they come to them. They were not sure if they can be good parents. Because of poverty prevalence in Ghana, they thought they wouldn't have the resources to do that. But we encourage them that once the children come to them, we are at their back, going to support them on each of their way. We are not going to leave them. So there are a lot of things Africa did to surmount all these challenges. Okay. So with staff, I've already mentioned that Lisa started making us attend workshops, trainings. She talked to us personally. I can't remember, she called me in her office and she talked to me about 1 hour, trying to convince me that family-based care was the best. Then she also assured us of redeployment opportunities. So then I had a degree and she asked me to take on extra courses. My colleagues who didn't have degrees, she asked them to pursue degree courses. The foster parents, the foster mothers, or I should call the caregivers, yes. She promised them that they were going to be okay. She will have that she will give them the opportunity to take on new roles. So once staff came to the realization that Lisa wasn't going to just leave us like that, then we started supporting her. Because me personally, I was concerned about my job, even though the best interest of children was at my heart, but I was also concerned about my job.
Thank you.
So then we threw our support behind her. Then with the children, there was participation. We called them, we spoke to them, decision makings, we did not leave them out. We tried to speak to them on the importance of family and also assuring them that they were going to fare well once they go back to family. Then with the families, we started providing economic support. Even up until now, we are doing that. So we trained them in businesses. We gave them startup capitals to start businesses. We gave parenting skills. We had weekly parenting skills training at our offices. And I think when they realized that the support will be coming, they also bought into the idea of what Lisa has started. It was amazing. It hasn't been easy though, but we've come very far, and if we look back, we pat our shoulders. We think we've done the best.
Please, let me ask one quick question before we move on. How long in total did it take you to finish the transition for all the children who were in the home?
It took us a couple of years. So then we had less than 50 children. But transitioning them, I would divide the total children into 3 parts. Majority of the children had families. I would say like 85% of children residing in our then orphanage had families. So reuniting them wasn't so much of a problem, especially children who didn't have special needs. There were also children whose parents or families, extended families, could not be traced. So with the support of government, Department of Social Welfare, they helped us train foster parents. So some of our caregivers who were taking care of the children in the orphanage were then trained to be foster parents. And they were taken into various communities where the children came from, or in Accra, so that any child whose parent is not ready to receive that child yet, or a child whose parent cannot be traced yet, was given to the foster parent. So that the Department of Social Welfare, which is the government body, supported us in a very grand way. Then there was that category of children with special needs, HIV, cerebral palsy, autism. You know, it's a bit difficult for families to receive them upon all the trainings, and they think they cannot do it. So Department of Social Welfare also supported us to provide specialized foster care services for them until their families were ready. So in general, I would say it took us not less than 4 years for us to transition like 95% of them.
Great. And what did you do with the last few?
So the last few, that's about 5%, grew in foster care until they turned 18 and transitioned into independent living.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please, a few minutes with you, Akpene. You have been a caregiver and you've come through foster care. How has it been, and what would you want owners of foster care, owners of residential homes, and people who are into child care and child protection to know?
Thank you, Miracle. So with residential operators, for now, having been through the system, I would say I will appreciate their work that they have done over the years, all residential homes, children's home, trying to solve a societal problem. But in an attempt to solve a problem, you know, as human as we are, unknowingly we end up creating another, and which is why we are here today. So I have experienced the institutional care system, and before that, I have experienced family care system before. And I will never advise anybody to drop his or her child in an institutional care or send your auntie or your uncle's child there because that person is not alive or because of poverty. I won't encourage anyone to do it. In as outwardly, you can see it as, oh, they are providing everything. In terms of education, the children are getting it. Their food, they are getting, place to stay, they are getting. These are the basic needs that human being needs. But beyond that, human beings survive beyond just food, clothes, and shelter. Right, so I'll say that we should allow the children to go back to families. Single families are there to support them. Families are the backbones of humanity. And in families, we survive, we thrive, we become good people. And for us caregivers that we are out now, that we do not have any family to go to, you see us once a while calling on each other. Those of us that we grew up together, the exiting group, because you exit in groups. So when you exit in groups, you end up forming relations with those groups, and then once a while you reach out and say, oh, I need this, or I need that. Can somebody help me in this way? But then if you end up with it, if you have a family, you will never break away from them, no matter how old you are. If you have a mother or a father, when you are old and you are married and you have children, when you come to your mother is still your mother. And he or she has the right to correct you in whichever way, which we don't have, because we went through a system which just directed us out, and you are out and that is it. So, in as much as outside, people outside who are ignorant of it would think that the orphanage is taking care of the children or is caring for the children, inwardly is destroying things, because you come out and you feel so empty. You are not connected to anyone. You've lost your culture. You've lost your identity. I can speak languages within the Ghana country, but I am master of none. I can speak one of them because of how the kind of people we came into contact with, or the children that we grew up with, because they came from different tribes, and they all came with different languages. So we ended up learning other languages from them. But we don't really get to master the language and have authority over the command over the language. You see, you end up losing it. You just speak just to survive. But if you are to talk as a native person, you are lost. And that is the challenges we are facing. We don't have any sense of belonging. The family members are there, but you can't go because you are not closer to them. You don't have attachment. You don't have the bond. You go there and they have forgotten about whose child, whose son, whose daughter you were or you are. So in as much as they are trying to solve a problem, it's creating another problem. So we should rather allow the children to grow up in families. When they are in the families and they are hungry, they will not die. So to institutions or international bodies or people who want to support children, I will advise or encourage that you rather direct the support to the community, so that all the other children can also benefit, so that you don't make the institutional care attractive for parents to come and dump their children behind, in front of their door and run out, because they see that place to be attractive. The building is attracting them. The bus that takes the children to school and back is attracting them. And that is why you keep seeing people dumping or abandoning children. So if we redirect our support to the communities, to support the less families that we think they are vulnerable within their community, it will solve the problem. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. So I'll ask Auntie Helena, one quick question, and then I'll open the floor for about 2 or 3 questions. Then we wrap up. So please, Auntie Helena, as for care reform in Ghana, I'm sure when you heard Honorable Oye, you could see that Ghana has put in a lot of structures to make sure that care reform is moving. I have at least, I remember packing them in because I told myself I was on all those boards and I need to have the documents we created. The latest is the care reform roadmap in Ghana for 2024 to 2028. But this is the 4th version. We've had from 2010 to 2012, we've had an extension to 2015, and then we had another roadmap for the closure of residential homes 2017 before this. And even this, we are in 2026. There isn't a lot of noise we are hearing about implementing this. So my question to you, what do you think gets in the way after these things have been passed, after the document has been signed on, like this one is? What gets in the way so that we are not able to implement them?
I think that the problem has to do with when people are moved from, when officers are moved from what they are doing to another place. Somebody is in charge.
Like the shuffling?
Reshuffling.
Okay.
So when the minister was talking, a lot of the things that she talked about are no longer, you don't see the passion. When you hear her speak, she had a lot of passion for this kind of work. So that is what I can see that sometimes is a problem. If you come in to start, continue the work I'm doing, if you don't have the same passion like I have, then you will not be able to do it the way it should go. But I think that apart from that, a lot has happened since everything started. At least we have the documents there that we are following, even though it's not the way we expected it to be. But a lot has happened. Looking at how it started from the beginning, it was really frustrating, very frustrating working with, in an environment where resources, it was OA and UNICEF that kept supporting us throughout, even to get to where we have gotten to. At least before I left to the Department of Children. So, that is it.
Your thoughts. Thank you very, very much. Please, any question for them? Any question for any of them before we wrap up? The mic is coming to you.
Right, thank you. Sorry, I forgot your name, so Emma. My question is for you, especially in the area of the caregivers, because I've seen a lot of things done in caregivers, but I think sometimes it's hard for us to know what your needs are, right? Because I've seen people bringing caregivers together, and all they talk about is the mental health, which I support mental health. But is that all you guys need? What other supports do you need? Do you need life skills? Do you need connections in life? Like you said, do you need mentors? Because I feel like sometimes we can just focus on that mental health, and we don't really have a sense of like, what else do you guys need from us, policy makers?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I would say mostly you hear us say mental health because of the trauma that you face, especially when you exit support and you are exposed to the world all of a sudden that you know nothing about. So we feel like the mental health, it's like the major, because if you have your mental capacity intact, right. But apart from that, caregivers need a lot of things. Things like they struggled with jobs, especially jobs, because sometimes they come out since they say that 18 years you have to be out of school. You can test between them. Most of the Africans university, by the time you'll be out, you are either more than 18 years. So if 18 years you should be out, it means that you will not be out of school before you'll be getting out. Some institutions will try to equip you with the skills and knowledge that you need in order to live independent life. But then you face the world with no less skill. Your educational level is super low. You have mental health issues already. Self-esteem is all gone, and all these kind of challenges. So it affects the caregivers to get decent job in order to attract decent salary to be able to live a better life. You get it? So jobs, acquiring a job is a challenge. Another one is housing, accommodation. when you are exiting support, for other institutions, they might support you with 1 year rent or whatever. But once that 1 year rent ends, if you don't have any means of earning income to pay your rent, it means that you can't get accommodation. So you have to call on your other care leavers friends to either spend a night or two or stay with them or share a room with them. And once you've exhausted your options, it means that you are back on the street again. A whole lot. Health issues as well. Most of us get out of institutional care with health issues because you already entered into the institutional care with health issues. And those health issues, if it is chronic, it means that it's with you where you are living with it. So if you're an HIV person, how then do you continue getting your monthly medications and mental consultation and all hospital consultation and all those kind of things? So care leavers, once you are out of care, it doesn't end there. You are faced with even challenges beyond your own strength because there is no family to go to. If you were left within the family and family members recognizes you and they know your weakness and your strength, they might end up in a way. Sometimes some of them will turn blind-eyed on you and they will not support you. But then there will be one person in there that will have that soft heart that can be able to come to your aid. So when care leavers are out, your challenges become more than even when what you came in with.
Thank you. I see 2 hands. Okay, so I'll take those 2 and then we'll close.
I'm hiding here. And I have the mic.
Okay, please go ahead, Reverend.
All right, so my concern is about the families. There are homes dysfunctional. Husband and wife are at war. Children are scared every day. You want to send somebody.
My